Hello. I want to talk to you a little bit today about the governor's State of the State address, my take on what he had to say, and also some legislative initiatives that I've begun this year in the Kansas legislature. I thought the governor's State of the State address was outstanding. It highlighted why he thinks, and I agree, that Kansas, under his leadership as the governor and during my tenure in the legislature, has become the best state in the nation to live, to work, to raise a family. With regard to the economy, under the governor's watch, and he and I entered state government at the same time. He became governor after the 2010 election at the same time. I had the privilege of first representing you good folks in Shawnee in the Kansas House. During that time, we've created over 57,000 new private sector jobs. Job growth, private sector job growth in Kansas is outpacing that of many other states. Our urban growth in the Johnson County area has far outpaced that of the Kansas City, Missouri side of the state line. This is all because of the aggressive tax policies that we enacted in the legislature and the governor signed into law. I believe that tax reductions, keeping more money in the pockets of hardworking Kansas taxpayers, is the best stimulus for our economy. Yes, we do have some budget shortfalls that we have to address over the next couple of years, and you've probably heard about them in the news. Two things I'd like to say about that. First of all, bear in mind the word deficit is not the proper terminology for what we do here in Kansas, because by law we have to have a balanced Kansas budget at the end of every year. What has caused the shortfalls, we did not accompany these wise tax reductions to stimulate the economy in Kansas with the accompanying reductions, reasonable, rational reductions in spending. And in that regard, we're going to be looking carefully at that this year and find those areas of state government operations that can realize some spending reductions while still accomplishing all core functions of state government. And everything should be on the table in that regard, and that includes education funding as well. But we will get there, and that will help increase our bond rating as well. Another area that the governor addressed that I thoroughly applaud is the need to look seriously at judicial selection reform in the state of Kansas. That is, changing the method by which we select our appellate justices, in this case, Kansas Supreme Court justices. We are an outlier of all 50 states. We are the only state in the union that has the type of nominating system that we do. It's called the Modified Missouri Plan. Yes, other states have a Missouri plan where a nominating commission interviews candidates to fill vacancies on the Supreme Court and then recommends a slate of 3 candidates from which the governor can choose his nominee for the court. Other states have that system as well. About 13 other states, a minority, but other states do. What's different about Kansas is a majority of that nominating commission that controls those selections are elected not by the public at large or through their elected representatives, but by a small cadre of elite trial lawyers, only about 3,000 people in all out of a total Kansas population of about 1.9 million. I get a ballot to vote for those members on the Kansas Nominating Commission because I'm a lawyer. You, unless you are an attorney yourself, don't get that ballot. My wife doesn't get the ballot. Most of my neighbors don't. And therefore, the selection process is skewed in favor of liberal trial lawyers, frankly. And that is why we're getting consistently liberal nominees for the Kansas Supreme Court. Nominees whose credentials and qualifications are frankly no match for those nominated through the federal model used for federal district court and court of appeals judges and Supreme Court judges, where the president makes a selection for his nominee subject to Senate confirmation. That federal model is what I'd prefer in Kansas as well. But I actually have a proposal in the House Judiciary Committee right now that I'm working on that will keep the nominating commission, because I do believe the advice of attorneys that practice before these judges is an important part of the process. But we need to make the process more democratic. So I would change the method of selecting the members of the nominating commission so that the people's elected representatives, the governor, the Senate president, the Speaker of the House, are the ones that select the members of the nominating commission. then the process would go forward as it does now, but with the governor's selection subject to Senate confirmation. And I have great hope that that resolution will gain traction this year.